You people, and I do mean you people, have been demanding that I watch this video. And in an act of not defiance, just I've been busy. I got so much stuff going on. I just haven't got to it yet, but I'm here to get to it today. So, this is a cover of a Marion Hill song. Marion Hill. God, words are hard. I just realized cover is spelled Kover. That's clever, Kevin. That's all right. Song's called Down. This is Kevin's version of it. Kevin is from the a cappella group Pentatonics. If you're not familiar, here it is. Interesting.
Didn't even really wanna go, but if you get me out, you get a show. There's so many bodies on the floor, so baby, we should go and add some more. Are you down, diddy down, diddy down, diddy down, 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 diddy down, diddy down, diddy down, down, down. Everywhere I look are people's hands, thrown up in the air to help them dance. Come on, baby, catch me if you can. I know you don't have any other plans. Are you down, diddy down, diddy down, diddy down, 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 diddy down, diddy down, diddy down, down, down. Are you?
Okay. Wow. Okay. So there's things happening here. Where do I start? Let's talk about those headphones. I did a review of those headphones. It was actually my first YouTube video. My very first YouTube video was a review of the Audio-Technica ATH M50X headphones. The ones I reviewed were in a different color. I reviewed the dark green limited edition colorway for the Audio-Technica headphones. They were like a really, really dark green with like brown accents. Really interesting colorway. And I if any of you have been watching my channel for a little while, you'll actually remember me wearing them when I started doing reaction videos. Like I did that Audio-Technica review 3 years ago, maybe more than 3 years ago. It was a while ago. I mean, this is a little rough to say out loud, but my dad was alive because he subscribed to my channel when I made that video. So, yeah, it was definitely I want to say January 2018. Give or take, is when I made that Audio-Technica headphone video. And I can tell you right now, those headphones, at the time when I made that video, I was making a case for them being possibly the best headphones in the world. They weren't prohibitively overexpensive. They sound fantastic as long as you're not trying to DJ with them. The problem with the requirements of DJ headphones like these is that headphones for DJs have to have the ability to they have to have the ability to take much higher power coming off of like a DJ mixing board, so that the headphones themselves can get much louder in like a nightclub environment and you can hear them over the big speakers in the nightclub. DJs use headphones to be able to queue up the next track without playing that track out over the main speakers. The only way that DJs are able to do that is if the headphones that they're hearing in their ears are louder than the speakers that they're standing next to, or sometimes standing on, because speakers get that big very easily. And so that was my only complaint about those Audio-Technica headphones, was that like they're not great for DJing because they can't handle the high power required of professional DJ headphones. That being said, for literally anything else that I could think of, they were amazing. They were incredibly comfortable. The sound profile was very, very warm and lush, and I loved everything about those headphones. So it's no surprise to me that he's using them in a studio environment. They are fantastic headphones. Let's move on to the little thing that he's got sitting on the music stand in front of his electric cello. That little thing is literally just a switchboard. Like, it's just I don't know specifically what it is because I can't see a brand name, but like I can tell you what it does. It's a bunch of buttons, very much like the one that he's standing in front of that's sitting above the keyboard. So you can see the keyboard, the Akai MPK88. We'll talk about that in a second. But the thing above the keyboard, like up there, the smaller thing that's like on the higher stand, that is a what they call an Ableton push controller. It's literally just a pad of buttons, whole bunch of buttons, and you can literally assign those buttons to anything that you want Ableton to be able to do. Ableton is a recording software, and a lot of producers use it. A lot of DJs use it for making remixes, making edits, and what's particularly special about Ableton, the full name of the software is actually Ableton Live. And they call it Ableton Live because Ableton has the ability to allow for real-time play and recording in a studio or stage environment. The idea is that the software gets out of the way of the performance, so the musician is free to just perform the way that they would perform, and Ableton will be able to capture it and play it back without prohibiting any kind of performance nuance or whatever that the performer would like lend to their, the way that they're playing, because humans aren't computers, right? There's little imperfections that add character to our performance. A lot of DJs really like Ableton Live because it has this specific function that allows you to stretch small chunks of audio rather than stretch an entire song. You can go in and stretch. You can literally mark out each beat of a song and then stretch the space in between those beats so that you can do something called quantizing. Quantizing is where you line up all the beats to a grid, and then you can have like basically computer accurate timing on any recording, even old rock and funk recordings that weren't recorded to a metronome or whatever, like literally any recording. You can quantize it to a grid, and then that makes it much easier to remix if you're a DJ or a producer. And that's how a lot of people have been able to go back and remix old songs in the last 10 years that were never really remixed before, because we have new technology now over the last 10, 15 years that we didn't have before that. And a lot of it is thanks to Ableton Live and its ability to quantize on the fly. So that's what you get living in 2020. This is the future, y'all. And we're just reaping the benefits. I love his singing here. I love the beatboxing. Obviously, he knows what he's doing as a beatboxer. He does it professionally. But I want to keep moving, and here's some more of this track. Interesting.
We can put them all to shame. Now isn't the time to play it safe? Isn't this the reason that you came? So, baby, don't you let it go to waste.
So, what he's doing, for those that are unfamiliar with this technique, what he's doing is he's triggering a track, recording to that track, and then layering another track on top of it that he can then record a different part, either through the microphone or through the cello, or even with the piano. He can record any of that to its own track, and the computer is keeping time the entire time. It's just going along and counting along to a grid. So he's playing along with this grid, but he's playing the different parts so that they all kind of weave together. He's composing in real time. This type of performance is generally called live looping. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with the term. In fact, a lot of you that are here watching this are probably watching this because you've already seen this video 1,000 times. And you're already massive Kevin O fans. You're already massive PTX fans. Like, I get it. But on the off chance that you're not familiar with how this works, in concept, it's very simple. You have a bunch of buttons on the little controller above the keyboard, and all of those buttons you can assign ahead of time to do different things. And some of the primary functions of those things that you would want to assign to a button are things like, create a new track, start recording on that track, stop recording on that track, or loop the track. So like it'll stop recording, but it'll keep playing back on top of itself. There's a device that I discussed in my very first reaction video. When I reacted to my very first reaction video, it was FKJ and Masigo, and they were using a device called a RC505. And it's a device that I still haven't been able to get my hands on, just because I've been so busy doing other things. I'll get one someday eventually, maybe, but it is literally just a loop station that is designed, rather than a loop pedal like most guitar players would use. This is a loop station that's designed for use with your fingers. They have buttons instead of stomp switches. It's designed to be used on a tabletop rather than on the ground. And a lot of beatboxers use them for very powerful tools. A lot of DJs are starting to integrate them more and more into their live remix and live production sets. And I would love to get my hands on one, either an RC505, or honestly, if I have to be patient, and if the budget decides that I got to go with the little brother, they make an RC202 that's just a 2-channel loop station rather than a 5-channel. And it's quite a bit less expensive. Has a few less features, but is also, like, in its own right, a very powerful looping tool. So yeah, one of these days I'll get my hands on one of those. I'll be able to play around with it and try to integrate it into my DJ setup. But for now, I can appreciate what Kevin's doing here by basically taking what that piece of hardware does and doing it the hard way. He's got one piece of hardware in front of the cello. He's got another piece of hardware above the keyboard. And he's got all of that hooked up to probably a laptop and an interface that we can't see on screen. But then it's all being controlled by these controller pads with all these buttons on them. So it's kind of recording, but also kind of DJing. He's basically remixing himself on the fly. It's really, really fascinating stuff.
Are you down, diddy down, diddy down, diddy down, down, down?
The cello part just keeps going.
Down, diddy down, diddy down, diddy down, down, down. Every single thing is feeling right. Started as a quiet Friday night. I don't really think that we should fight this. What if we don't stop until it's right?
Full disclosure. The first time I saw Kevin singing, I thought that he might have been doubling the bass part. I found out later, thanks to all of you in the comments, that it was Scott who has the baritone voice and was stepping into the bass role when Avi was singing the lead part during Hallelujah. I thought it might have been Kevin. I was clearly wrong, and now Kevin's proving me even wronger. Dude's got an insane voice.
Are you down, diddy down, diddy down, diddy down, down, down? Down, diddy down, diddy down, diddy down, down, down. Are you? Oh, down, down. Oh,
So that's called finger drumming, and DJs do it all the time. A lot of DJs, modern DJs especially, when they have like modern controllers or modern mixers that have like controller interfaces built in, you'll see DJs that will be able to take and chop like snare hits and kick drum hits, and they'll rebuild a beat on the fly. Finger drumming has become a really regular part of professional DJing, and it started, finger drumming for DJs started with devices like this, using techniques that Kevin is using. So he's doing, like I said, he's doing the like much harder, much more complicated version of what DJs do. DJs have typically 8 pads per side, usually 2 decks. So that means there's 16 pads that DJs can use to be able to create, you know, finger drumming patterns and loops. The thing is, when you're DJing, there's usually at least 1 track playing. So if you only have 2 decks, that means you don't actually have 16 pads to work with if you're letting the 1 deck run, like, you know, an acapella part, or maybe you're remixing another beat that you're working your way out of or something. So while that deck is playing, the other deck, the other deck is where you would be doing all of the like finger drumming and like real time beat stuff. So yeah, it's like I said, he's kind of DJing himself. He's taking samples of himself, and then he's reworking those samples in real time. It's actually really impressive. And then he stopped the cello part. Just let the beat run. Distortion pedal. Get a little Jimi Hendrix with it. Come on. Nice. Well done, my dude. Yeah. So let's go back over that real quick. So in order for him to pull that off, he needs to be able to beatbox. He needs to know his way around how to write a bass part. He needs to know his way around how to play the cello. He needs to know his way around how to produce with a live looping production station in real time. He needs to know a little bit of keyboard, and he needs to know how to like stack those layers and be able to compose the whole time he's doing that, he's counting in his head like X number, like this chorus is going to be this many bars long, this verse is going to be this many bars long, and this is how I'm going to transition from that chorus to that verse and then into the next section. So it's all got to be mapped out ahead of time. It has to be, because there's so much complicated stuff going on in order to make all of that work seamlessly, that like he obviously like put in a lot of work. He didn't just like, this is definitely not a situation where you just sort of step up to a couple of pieces of hardware and go, oh, what if we try something like this? Boom, da da boom, boom, bah. Like and then he just like, you know, decided to turn on a camera and do that. This is not an afternoon's worth of work. He probably spent weeks, maybe even months, on organizing and composing this and rehearsing it and setting it all up so that when it came time to turn the camera on, then, you know, all he had to do was perform the parts. Now I say all he had to do as if it was like that easy, right? Like everybody does it. That's so not true. Not everybody can do that. In fact, very few people can do that, which is what makes this so incredibly impressive. Kevin, you know, Kevin's a phenomenal talent. We've talked about Kevin at length on other videos that I've done, like my other Pentatonics videos and stuff. But it's really nice to see some of his other talents, because I knew he was a cello player. I think someone said he kind of plays the saxophone too, which would be really fascinating. But yeah, obviously a talented multi-instrumentalist. Obviously has some experience in terms of like production and you know, mixing, mastering, that kind of thing. So you know, hats off. Well done, my dude. It's a really, really stellar performance, and it really shows off just a plethora of other talents that we don't get to see from Kevin in his role as the rhythm section for Pentatonics. So thanks everybody for suggesting that, because that's actually really fun. I'm probably going to go back and watch that a couple more times, just because I want to get a little better feel for like some of what he's doing. But in terms of the equipment, you know, the Audio-Technica headphones, right down to, you know, the Novation controller that he's using for Ableton, right down to even the Akai MPK-88. Akai makes some of the most famous production hardware in the world. Specifically, they make a device called the MPC, which is a well-known production device for making beats. Dr. Dre famously used it for all of his beats in the 80s and 90s when he was producing for all of those hip-hop groups before he started making his solo stuff. And so Akai has like a really serious pedigree, and they're now owned by a company called In Music that owns several other well-known professional music brands, and they're doing really fascinating things with like the modern day MPC equipment that's out there. Their MPK-88 professional keyboard is it's a solid stage keyboard. You know, it's built like a tank, and it has a lot of interesting functions. It's a little bit older now. It's been around a while. But if you just need a basic keyboard for basic production stuff, and you're letting the computer do a lot of the like grunt work, then you just need a keyboard. And you know, the Akai is a solid choice. You know, it's got professional in big letters on the back of it for a reason. It's usually used by professionals, and it probably has the price tag to match. So anyway, that's enough about the gear. That's enough about me. That's enough for me. Thanks very much for watching this one, y'all. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subs, and I am so incredibly close. I am at 4.94 thousand subs. I want to hit 5,000 because my next goal is 10,000, and 10,000 is where is where I'm hopefully going to be able to break out of the bubble and start doing bigger and more interesting things. But for right now, like if I could just hit 5,000, that means that a few of you would sub, and I would greatly appreciate that. If you want to hang out with my community, you can always join the Discord that I have. And then you can always find me on social media at facebook.com or Instagram.com/DJSwitchPDX. Last but not least, if you want to see what I'm doing live, you can find me on Twitch. I'm now 3 nights a week, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. You can find me at twitch.tv/DJSwitchPDX. I think that's going to do it for me as far as this one is concerned. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching, and I will see you next time.